We begin with some breaking news at this hour. The leaders of France, Germany, and the UK have arrived in Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich, Merz, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer are in Kyiv to discuss ceasefire plans with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. They have been joined by Poland's leader Donald Tusk. The group wants Russia to agree to a full and unconditional 30-day truce to pave the way for lasting peace. It's the first time leaders of 4 European nations are on a joint visit to Ukraine. I can speak now to DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters, who joins me now from Kyiv. Rebecca, this is the first joint visit of these 4 European leaders to Ukraine. Anything concrete we should expect today?
Well, Michael, as we see with every high-level visit to Kyiv, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of conjecture about what concrete any leader will be bringing. That's no different today. Of course, it's unlikely and, of course, would be very unpopular if these 4 leaders turned up to Kyiv empty-handed. So it's, almost certain that they will be bringing with them something concrete to be able to hand over to President Zelenskyy. But exactly what is in is in their suitcases today, of course, will remain top secret until the leaders have met and we see them address the press in the aftermath of that. But one thing concrete, if you want to call it that they are bringing, and that's something that they have certainly been championing and been discussing in the media in the lead up to this, is that this is a show of European solidarity and steadfast support for Ukraine. Of course, this comes at a time when the US's steadfast support has been faltering since Donald Trump has come into office, though we have seen the relations between the US and Ukraine sort of soften in recent days and weeks since President Trump and President Zelenskyy met at the funeral of Pope Francis. But, this is certainly a show of unity. It comes just a few days after the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is now in the Chancellor's seat. And this, the 4 very, very high-level leaders of the European Union coming together is certainly a show of solidarity. Now, the 4 are coming, of course, to discuss this 30-day ceasefire, and that is going to be top of their agenda.
Rebecca, the 4 leaders form, again, part of the so-called coalition of the willing. Remind our viewers again who is part of it and what's the objective.
Yeah, this coalition of the willing was formed a couple of months ago. It was the formation of this group was led by the UK and France, but is signed on by the European Union and some other allies as well. More than 30 nations leaders are part of this coalition of the willing, and it is again a show of support for Ukraine. The aim is to facilitate these ceasefire or peace negotiations, and that is the main aim of this group. But this is, they've had several sittings so far. This is the latest meeting of the group. They will be holding the 4 leaders here in person with President Zelenskyy, but they'll be holding a virtual meeting with the other leaders of the group, and they'll be discussing their updated plans of something that has been one of the things that they have been championing, which is a potential peacekeeping force to monitor any ceasefire that may happen in the future. So that's something that they'll be updating today, and that's certainly one of the key tenets of this coalition of the willing.
Of course, the ceasefire has been on the table, but how do they get Russia on board?
Well, of course, that is the million-dollar question, Michael. No ceasefire, of course, can come to fruition if Vladimir Putin doesn't get on board, and we have seen him refuse time and time again. This US-suggested 30-day ceasefire is something that he keeps refusing. The Ukraine has said they would be on board with. So, just how they're going to get him across the line remains to be seen. We've seen in the past that he's unwilling to bow to international pressure, and it's unlikely that if he doesn't get something that he wants, that he's going to come to the party on this either. So exactly how the international community can pressure him remains to be seen. There is talk of another sanctions package that is being devised if he continues to refuse, but as I say, this ceasefire agreement cannot take place without his approval, and everyone is continuing, waiting, hoping that they can negotiate him into that corner.
DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters in Kyiv. Many thanks, Rebecca.